I really enjoy healing in New World because your heals also do damage. So you feel like you're kind of part of the team, destroying all those bad dudes. But why not just run a DPS weapon and throw axes at the enemy's faces as well? Well, today I'm going to show you how you can make a healer build with a hatchet and have a great time. Let's go. This video is brought to you by our latest members, So Anthony and AJ. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, guys. And let's go. This build really gives you freedom in how you want to play during expeditions, allowing you to quickly do some damage and apply debuffs to the enemies while still maintaining healing and keeping your tank and DPS alive. The big issue when you're not in expeditions as a healer, when you're leveling, is how little damage the life staff actually does. When you combine this with a DPS weapon like the hatchet as we have in this build, you can easily respec into something like Berserk and just left click your way to success, or even respec all of your attributes as well, so you can just deal as much damage as possible with the hatchet while still keeping the life staff on you so you can keep leveling up those masteries. Basically, even regardless of whether you are going to spec into Berserk or not when you are leveling, you will be pretty much unkillable just when you're questing on your own because of the amount of healing that the life staff does while damaging, and then you've also got the hatchet for your DPS abilities as well. This build is primarily for expeditions, PvE, and leveling. I would not take this into PvP, though if you do want a PvP as a healer, maybe try combining it with the Great Axe for gravity well. But let's get into the weapon masteries, and we're going to start off around the level 10 mark as always with these leveling builds. We'll have endgame max level builds coming out once we have hit the endgame. We're going to start with the life staff. Starting off with Sacred Ground, as this is your primary healing or just general heal over time ability that you'll be using on the tank, and you want to apply this to the tank or the general area where the enemies are. Pop it on the ground and it will just do a heal over time effect. We also are using Orb of Protection, which shoots a projectile which will fortify the target that it hits, so reducing the incoming damage that comes to them, as well as a small heal onto the target, but it will also deal a decent amount of damage to any enemy that is caught by the attack in the radius when you do drop Orb of Protection. Beacon is our third ability, which will also deal damage to the enemies, so both Orb and Beacon can be used when you're out leveling, but this will deal a heal over time to whatever target you hit with it for 20% of your weapon damage for 10 seconds. So by using these abilities specifically, we're doing a lot of healing over time rather than quick burst healing to the targets. You mainly want to max out these three abilities as soon as possible, though you also in the healing line with the weapon, you want to pick up Absolved so that life staffs, your light and heavy attacks don't consume mana, and Blissful Touch so that your light attacks will pass through any enemies that they hit and do a quick little AoE heal on the ground around that enemy. There is also other passive you should pick up. I'll flick up a screen here where you can see kind of the progression path if you are going to max out your life staff where you should take this build. And the other weapon we're focusing on is the hatchet. Rending Throw is our first ability, which applies rend, and what that does is reduce the damage absorption from the target for 10 seconds. The second primary ability that you're going to be using a lot is Infected Throw, which again is a throw, and it will disease the enemy, which reduces the target's healing efficiency, and it also weakens the target's damage by 10%, so it reduces how much they are actually doing to your tank. The last ability is Social Distancing, which is less important as it does just apply a slow to the target, but slow is never a bad thing, but it's probably the one that I would drop if I was, just really switching to my hatchet quickly. I would be popping Rending Throw and Infected Throw and then switching back to my life staff. For your passives, you want to max out both of these weapons and also pick up Aimed Throw so that when you hold your right mouse button, you will throw your axe so that you can keep your distance from the enemies and still deal damage with your hatchet if you do choose to. And again, I'll flick up a screen here for you people maxing out this build. You can see where the progression path is. Now, for other options for your secondary, I did try the Ice Gauntlet and the bow, and they both fundamentally work because the methodology we're focusing on here for the second weapon is to apply damage over time effects or debuffs, and both the bow and the Ice Gauntlet do achieve this. The Ice Gauntlet with something like the Pylon ability, and the bow with the Rain of Arrows or the Poison Shot. Now, both of these work. However, I personally like the hatchet better because of the debuffs that do apply, and it syncs well with the life staff because it's reducing the amount of damage that target does to your tank. I didn't really like the Ice Gauntlet because it does suck your mana drastically, especially with you popping all of these ice abilities and then you switch back to your life staff. If you're out of mana, it's going to be a bad time if you do actually need to do some healing. Now let's move on to attributes, and obviously we're going to be focusing on focus. Focus is the focus for this focus-based build, and I think that's all we really need to say. You could probably put some points into Constitution too, but focus everything into focus because life staff stacks with focus. I think that's enough focusing. Our gear focus, however, is going to be on medium or light gear. I personally prefer medium because we don't necessarily need light, and it also gives you some flexibility into when you are leveling, so you can take a little bit of damage, which is definitely valuable when you get to the high levels and things are going to destroy your face very quickly. It just helps when you are taking damage when you're questing on your own so that you can take a few hits, but we are going to have tons of healing, so obviously light armor would fit with here. In terms of the sets of the Sage and of the Cleric are the two ones you want to focus on. The of the Sage will give you the most focus. Of the Cleric will give you a little bit of focus and constitution. But both of these sets are fantastic. There's plenty of other sets out there that also give focus. It's really just anything that you can fit, but the two main sets you want to focus on are Sage and Cleric. Now let's talk about playing this build. The first thing you want to do in any encounter is pop Sacred Ground on your tank. Once they have stopped moving, wait till they have found the position where they're going to stay in that fight. Then pop Orb of Protection and Beacon onto the target so they will get that heal over time effects and the Fortify. Then you can switch to your Hatchet and apply your Rend and Disease by using Rending Throw and Infected Throw and Social Distancing if you've got the time. Then depending on how much damage the tank or DPS are taking, here I'll either switch back to the Life Staff, do some healing, or stay on the Hatchet and just deal extra damage while I'm kind of just paying attention to what's happening in the fight. Left clicking with your Life Staff will also heal the allies because of the passive we have picked up. So if you just want to keep your tank topped up, you can just left click and stand there, but I personally find that boring. That's why I like to combine this with a Hatchet so that you can do other things rather than just stand still and hold left click on your tank until they've killed all the bad guys. This allows you to have a little bit more fun in combat, do some different things, you know, pay attention to applying your debuffs to the main enemies that you need to focus on and just have a bit more fun. It also really helps you during boss fights because you can apply these big debuffs to the bosses. It will absolutely help the fights go significantly smoother than if you weren't applying these kind of debuffs to the bosses. It also means if you get an enemy attached to you in combat, you're not completely useless. You know, you can actually destroy that enemy yourself without having to run around like a maniac and trying to avoid that damage. And the medium armor helps with that as well because you can take a little bit of damage as it is coming your way. A couple of quick tips to finish off, guys. Your left click heal doesn't heal yourself, so you have to heal yourself using your abilities. The left click, even if you're hitting an enemy with it, won't actually hit you and heal you as well, so make sure you're healing yourself using your abilities, not your left click. In the settings menu, you can also check some targeted healing options that you can play around with and find the settings that work for you. I personally find that the default settings are enough for me. I don't really think I need to change anything here, but there's plenty that you can play around with and change in these settings if you do choose to do so. Also, when you are just trying to level and explore, if you are doing Corruptor Trains, just leveling your Life Staff through Corruptor Trains is super easy to do. There is going to be tons of people doing these Corrupted Portals, and most of the people are just running Life Staffs because it's super easy to level them, as well as keep everyone topped up when you are taking some of that corrupted damage. It's not a bad idea just to have a Life Staff available so that you can do that. And if you're looking for more builds, check out my Blood Hunter build, which is a DPS AoE focused build for expeditions for the bow and the rapier. Please follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and thank you to you for watching this video, and thank you to the members for supporting this channel. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.